Here's your FPL Forwards guide with 3 players you should buy, monitor and avoid this pre-season Channeling the Deal Sheet series. Let's get straight into it by looking at the bronze buy pick. And this goes to Ollie Watkins, who comes in at quite a friendly 9 million. Bearing in mind he was the highest scoring forward in the game last season. Now, the only reason he's not higher on this list is because he was involved with England at the Euro, so he's probably on his holidays right now. It's going to be a while till we see him back in pre-season training. Obviously, he played less than 90 minutes for England across the Euros, but still, how fresh is he going to be? That's something I want to monitor. There are a few big changes at Villa this season. Douglas Luiz going is going to be a massive dent in the entire side. He was on penalties, so there's a chance that Watkins gets those penalties now. However, he did miss a couple last pre-season, which meant that Luiz ousted him off them. I think Tielemans will be first in line, but we don't need to worry too much because Watkins performed pretty well last season without having that spot kick duty. But he's maybe someone that I'll let get through those first 2 games for Aston Villa because they are a little bit more difficult. West Ham away and then Arsenal at home. Get through those first couple of fixtures and then I'll possibly have a look at investing in him. Moving on to the monitor list, and in bronze position here is Brentford's Ivan Toney. Well, he is a Brentford player at the moment, but he is heavily rumoured in a transfer window to be getting a move away from Brentford. It would have happened last year if it hadn't have been for those betting charges and that suspension for 6 months. He's a player where he probably needs some pre-season games under his belt because he struggled a little bit last season because of that half a season, so he needs to get back in his groove. Again, he's been with England at the Euros, so we're not going to see him in pre-season straight away, but he scored 20 goals in the 2022-23 season, and with some better service, he could be a great pick at 7.5 million. So I just need to see a move in the transfer window and a bit of pre-season form before I hit the button to invest in him. Sticking in that 7.5 million price bracket, and the bronze pick for the avoids, he's a player I feel like I talk about every pre-season for 3 years now, is Liverpool's Darwin Núñez, because there are so many question marks at Liverpool right now. What formation is Arne Slot going to play? Are we going to see Salah as the number 9? Well, that's Núñez's favourite position. He's kind of got a little bit of attention in some early drafts, but I don't think he's a player that we need to be investing in. I think Gakpo's more likely than him to get minutes. And it's very unpredictable under the new manager. I know Liverpool have got some great opening fixtures, but we do need the player on the pitch. Again, busy summer at the Copa America, a little bit of controversy as well for Núñez, so that's something to watch out for. We knew that under Klopp he wasn't a big fan of Gakpo, so Núñez was getting those minutes, but it could all change under Slot, and that's why I'm kind of looking to avoid him right now. Staying with the avoids then, and looking at the silver pick, and I've picked out Jamie Vardy, who has been a fantasy legend in the past, but he's 37 years old now. He's not the same player when Leicester won the league. He's not going to be scoring 20 goals in the Premier League this season. He managed 18 in the Championship, but he was in and out of the team all the time because he just isn't young enough to play games in quick succession at the moment. We saw that heavy rotation. He's a tempting price at 5.5 million, but I think there's a much better option at this price point. More on that later. Looking at the silver pick on the monitor list then, I've picked out Arsenal's Kai Havertz. He's been reclassified as a forward for this season, having played a lot of the tail end of Arsenal's previous season in that false 9 role. Arsenal are rumoured to be signing a forward in the window. And in that case, where is Havertz going to play? Because he started the season in more of an 8 role, moved further forward, and he could be anywhere. We just don't know what Arteta's going to do with him. I think at 8 million, if he was to play the false 9 role, it would be great. But this is something that may not be resolved until the transfer window shuts at the end of August. So he may be a player that we look at investing in come game week 4. Question marks is not something I like when it comes to FPL and pre-season, and that's why Havertz is just on the monitor list for now, because we're not absolutely sure on everything that we need to be. The silver pick for buy is Newcastle United's Alexander Isak. 40 big chances last season. He was second to Haaland in that metric, and I think he's set for a very big season. His season last season was hampered by injury at points, but he seems very liked in this squad, settled in that number 9 role. Eddie Howe is not afraid to play with a 2 up top with Wilson. That didn't seem to hinder his output at the end of last season as well. 21 goals, there's masses of potential there relative to his minutes, and I think Isak could have a huge season ahead. Full pre-season under his belt is obviously going to help him, and the fixtures for Newcastle to start the season are very attractive. Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Spurs at home, Wolves away. That first 4 is a really nice run, so I think he's one that it's worth investing in. The gold pick though on the buy list, it's got to be Erling Haaland for me. I know he's 15 million, 1 million more than we was expecting him to be, but I don't think that matters. You look at the changes to the bonus point system, it's going to benefit him in terms of points for fouls won and the points for shots on target. He registered more shots on target than any other player last season with 59, and he's got Ipswich at home in game week 2. Chelsea away in game week 1 isn't a bad fixture, but to go into game week 2 with Ipswich at home and not have Haaland, if you don't start the season with him, you're going to have to take a hit to get him in for game week 2. And I think once we see Haaland come alive in pre-season, he's there already, he's on the training ground, he's going to be in the pre-season friendlies, there's going to be loads and loads of FOMO, and I think you could easily captain him in all of the opening 3 game weeks, and he's very likely to be the top scoring fantasy asset at the end of those first 3 game weeks. We've seen how hot he started the season in his 2 previous seasons with Manchester City, and I cannot see any different here. He comes out of the blocks quick and he's ready to go. On the monitor list to buy is Brighton's João Pedro, who comes in at 5.5 million. He was a player that was hot on our lips last pre-season, and I think is a potential game breaker this time around. We saw under De Zerbi there was a lot of rotation in his attacking spots, but hopefully under the new manager Freusler, it's going to be a lot more settled. Last season Brighton had the UEFA Europa League, which really hampered their progress in the league, and a lot of injuries as well. We don't know whether he's going to be a 9 or a 10, so again we're looking closely in pre-season. We also need to know that he's still on penalties. He was first choice on penalties last season, so you'd hope that that doesn't change, but there's always potential under a new manager. But yeah, it's the potential that's there at the moment. It's a bit of a gamble, but 5.5 million, he could be a great enabler to afford Haaland, or Haaland and another premium, so keep a really close eye on him in pre-season, because if he does look like he's going to be a consistent starter on penalties, you're probably going to want him in your team. Now, top of the avoid list, and this is one that I haven't seen spoken about much, and it is a real shame. Crystal Palace's Jean-Philippe Mateta, 7.5 million. Now, he finished last season in red-hot form, 23 attacking returns for the season as well, but the big thing that makes him an avoid for me is that the Olympics, which finishes a week before the season starts in Paris 2024, he is in the France Olympic squad. Very different to their Euro squad. There's no overlap there. So there's no certainty that he's going to be available for Crystal Palace in game week 1. And that's a huge negative. Elise has gone to pastures new. That's another huge miss for Crystal Palace as well. And you look at that price point, 7.5 million. I'd much rather have a Solanke in my team than a Mateta, because I feel like there's less unknowns there. So Solanke's got the penalties, Mateta doesn't. If he's not going to be around for game week 1, you're certainly not going to want to be investing in him in your team. If you've enjoyed this one, make sure to hit that like button. We're going for 500 likes on this one. I'm on the road to 35k subscribers before the game week 1 deadline as well. And let me know in the comments which forwards have made your first draft in FPL this pre-season. Thank you for watching.